Mr. Jasper and I stood at opposite ends of the hallway in the best tradition of the Western movies. Hate and confidence could be seen in our eyes. A piece of paper rolled across the floor like a tumbleweed. Terrified students were looking out of their classrooms because they knew there was going to be a life or death battle. Mr. Jasper had dared to challenge me, the terror of the school. Hi, my name is Tessa, and I'm proud to say that I've managed to get 10 principals out of my own school. But the 11th, Mr. Jasper, has become a real problem for me. I never enjoyed studying. It seemed to me that getting up early in the morning, going to all the classes, and doing homework were activities for fools, and sneaky and brave people like me don't need school at all. I only went to that boring place because my parents pestered me about it every day. Tessa, you have to study. Tessa, you won't get anywhere. Tessa, you won't get a job. My mother used to tell me. Wow, what a problem, not getting a job. That's awesome. Actually, I wasn't planning on working because I was pretty sure that one day I would meet my Prince Charming. We'd start the coolest rock band in the world and I wouldn't need any education. I didn't want to be like my parents, hard workers who came home late at night just to eat and sleep. They didn't even have time for their own daughter. Who needs such a life? I had no friends at school, and I didn't suffer much because I was surrounded by idiots, and they were as shy as mice and scattered into corners if I shouted at them. By the way, this was true not only for my peers, but also for adults. 10. That was exactly how many principals wrote their resignations after a showdown with me. It always started the same way. The new principal would come to the school, found out about my existence, smugly grinned into his mustache, if he had one, and told the vice principal, "She's going to be a straight-A student in a week." The rest was a question of my sick imagination. Sometimes it took me too far. If only you knew what serious-looking men do in their spare time. One principal secretly kept a page on Instagram where he read love poems of his own composition. His tearful opus was heard by the whole school because I played it at the end of school year party. The other loved cosplay and secretly went to Comic-Con as Wolverine from X-Men, secretly. Well, that's what he thought. But the truth always comes out. So did his outfit. Photos of the principal in the costume adorned the school lobby the next morning. I destroyed the third principal's collection of kitten figurines. I sprayed paint on an expensive, custom-made desk of the fourth principal. I slipped a note to the fifth on behalf of our chemistry teacher, and his grandiose love confession turned out to be rejected, and he was humiliated. Let me remember what I did to the sixth and seventh principals. The sixth tried to find common ground with me by tearfully telling me about his difficult childhood spent in the ghetto. I told the school psychologist about this strange conversation, and soon the new principal was asked to vacate the office. The seventh, like the eighth, by the way, could not stand my prank with disrupted classes throughout the school. And the ninth didn't like the fact that I called the police and told them that his car looked suspiciously like the one that had been stolen from my neighbor. I was supposed to have a harder time with the 10th because we got assigned a former Navy SEAL. But then I decided to speak to the principal in his language. I called him a wimp and suggested an obstacle course in the school's backyard. He was stupid and arrogant, and he didn't know that no one but me could overcome those obstacles. I knew all the tricks, ledges, and manholes. As a result, I came to the finish line first, and the brave soldier almost cried as he gathered his things, because the whole school was laughing at him and his pathetic performance. And then they sent us the 11th principal. "Have you seen him yet?" a guy from a group of underachievers asked me. "Your brain? It doesn't exist," I glared at him angrily, accompanied by the cackling of the other losers. Strangely enough, the guy smiled in response to my quip. "The new principal, he's already here." A new victim delivered straight to the house. I was eager to do something nasty to this daredevil. This time, I was sure to use my imagination so that the city government wouldn't think of sending anyone else to us.
Miss Belford, to the principal's office!
The secretary squeaked from the speakers in the ceiling. Game on. I winked at my fellow students and went to get acquainted. To be honest, I didn't know how to react at first, because behind the principal's desk was a puny old man with a bushy white beard, sort of a poor man's Dumbledore. His lively black eyes squinted intently, and Grandpa pointed to the chair across from him. "Have a seat, Miss Belford." Is this a joke? Are you the new principal? I flopped down in my chair, looking at my new victim with interest. That's right. My name is Mr. Jasper. I've heard a lot about you. Oh, my fame has reached Hogwarts. I threw my legs up on one of the armrests without a second thought. Mr. Jasper, meanwhile, stood up and came toward me. I've heard about your antics, Tessa, and I want to tell you right away. You can forget about them from this day forward. The old man's voice was so quiet and calm that his words seemed even funnier. I have heard it 10 times before, Mr. Dumbledore, and it all ended the same way, with a resignation letter. You'll write it, I think. I rolled my eyes. Tomorrow. The principal just smiled softly at me and then shrugged his shoulders. We'll see. Now, get to class. I obeyed for the first time, and only because I was not interested in hanging out with this old man. He might start talking about his youth. I did not delay, and on his first day at our school decided to sabotage the classes. The easiest thing I could do was to climb into the attic, set a book on fire, and hold it up to the smoke detector. 3, 2, 1. The howl of the fire safety system was so deafening that I almost threw the burning book on the floor. Within minutes, the whole school was evacuated to the soccer field. I watched from the attic as Mr. Jasper stepped onto the field, looked around at the crowd of children, and then suddenly turned exactly in my direction. Miss Belford is staying after class to clean the assembly hall. I looked outside. And this is how you thank me for saving your worthless lives? You should be thanking me for the unscheduled rehearsal. What if it was a real fire? You'd be crawling like turtles. Thank you, Miss Belford. I'll see you in the assembly hall. If you don't come, I'll have the entire school in detention. The crowd howled in displeasure. I didn't care if they made me clean up the school, but I sure as hell couldn't handle a few hundred angry students on my own. Good job. The old man winked at me as I staggered out of the assembly hall. It's not over, I hissed back. Indeed, our rivalry had only just begun. It was time to fight back. At 3 a.m, I climbed out of my bedroom window and headed for school. Oh no, I wasn't hungry for knowledge. I had a better plan. After entering the principal's office through the window, I looked around. The old man must have weak points, and it didn't take me long to find them. There was a picture on Principal Jasper's desk. Mr. Jasper, a young woman, and a girl my age. A daughter and a granddaughter. Checkmate. I took a snapshot of the photo, cropped it, and very quickly found both of their pages on the internet. It was time to get out of here. I spent the rest of the night looking through the profiles I found, and was about to decide that all my efforts were in vain when suddenly I saw this. My face turned into a Grinch mask. It's a disaster, Mr. Jasper. If you only knew what a couple of $100 bills stolen from a parent's wallet could do. In my case, it opened up access to the school server. And just imagine, at precisely 9 a.m., a photo of our dear school was replaced by an even more beautiful photo on the school website. It showed Principal Jasper, dressed in a fairy costume, dancing at a family Halloween party. What a rascal, laughed one student, whose name I couldn't remember. Although my Uncle Nigel does a lot more than that after 2 or 3 beers. I don't care, I shouted. That was my triumph. Now the old man would be out of a job. But Mr. Jasper appeared in the hallway of the school as if nothing had happened, and as if he hadn't noticed the laughter that seemed to come from every corner. The principal kept his cool until he saw me at the end of the hall. Our eyes met in the best tradition of a classic Western. He knew who was behind this little hacker attack. The old man suddenly turned around and headed for the stairs. Strangely, I thought he was going to lecture me in front of everyone, but apparently the principal decided that revenge was a dish worth serving cold. In Mr. Jasper's case, it was as icy as a polar cap. I was doing the best I could. I took out the electrical panel. I let a few dozen mice into the principal's office, decorated his door with offensive writing, but Mr. Jasper remained calm. The 10th principal, the one from the Navy SEALs, could learn a lot from this Zen Buddhist. That's when I went extreme. I got a few boxes of firecrackers from the back of the school, left over from the 4th of July celebration. It wasn't easy to sneak those heavy boxes in and put them under the window of Dumbledore's office. I had to break into school in the middle of the night again. The no-name student was very surprised when I caught him at recess and shoved fireplace matches and $50 in his hand. Here's the deal.
Tessa, you won't get him.
The kid shrugged.
Can't you see this old man's unbreakable?
We'll see about that. Here's 50 for you. In exactly 15 minutes, light up the fireworks under the principal's office window.
And you won't set me up?
You? Have we seen each other today? I winked, and he went into the courtyard. All I had to do was cause another mess so that Mr. Jasper would call me to his office. I wanted to see him turn gray with my own eyes. Oh, well, he was already gray. Never mind. I spotted a huge aquarium in the school lobby, grabbed a chair, and threw it right at it. The thick glass cracked, and the aquarium exploded a moment later.
Tessa Belford to the principal's office!
The secretary yelled from the loudspeakers. Great. The director greeted me with his usual calm. He opened his mouth to start lecturing me, but a deafening roar and whistle forced him to postpone his speech. My buddy had worked his $50 fair and square. Bright lights and sparks flew in all directions. Very cool. How do you like the surprise, Mr. Jasper? I laughed hysterically. And then I noticed that the principal looked strange. The color of his face blended with his gray beard. The old man was holding his heart and trying to say something. Mr. Dumbledore? What are you doing? We did not agree on this. Oh no. The old man didn't seem to like the fireworks very much. For the first time in my life, a man was fainting in front of me, and I got confused. I ran out into the hallway and started screaming for help. Fortunately, the school nurse came quickly, and our principal's life was no longer in danger. My prank provoked a heart attack in the elderly man. A real one. When Mr. Jasper got better, though, he whispered to me, 1 point for me. Naive. I decided not to bother the principal just yet. He's too weak. We can sort it out later. Have you ever had any conflicts at school? Share your stories in the comments.